Alright, today we're going to talk about sorting arrays. Let's start out by creating an array of numbers, for example. We're just going to go put some random numbers in here, make sure they're not in alphabetical order. So you can see we have some numbers here, and they certainly are not in order. Let's kind of put, and so the question is, how do we get those to come out in order? We can do a numbers dot for each, put a callback function in here, and just display them out like so. Oops, I did that's not correct. And let's just see, we'll run this program in Node, and we'll see that sure enough, if we do that, they end up just in the same order, the natural order, the order they were created in. If that is undesirable, what we would do is we could say numbers.sort. Real simple. And so let's see what happens now. And something's, yeah. And so you look at this and you say, well, something's wrong here. I sorted them and they don't look like they're in order. They're not in the same order that they were previously, but they're not enough. They're not in numerical order. What's going on here is that when you sort using this sort function, it's called a lexicographical sort. And so what you have to think about is this 1 is before that 3. This 3 certainly comes before 4, and 4 comes before 5, and 5 comes before 6. And so that's called a lexicographical sort. It's not treating 11 as an integer, or 33 being, being bigger than 4. It's treating it as alphabetical. And so this kind of sort doesn't do us much good when we have integers. Let's do create another array with some fruit in it, and we'll say pears, and we'll say apple. Okay, and let's just go ahead and we'll go ahead and say strings. We'll do a for each and get this to write this out. Write our callback function, and we'll call this fruit. That variable name will be called fruit. And we'll say console.log, and we'll say fruit. Alright, so now let's just see what happens now. I think I know what's going to happen here. Oops, I got something wrong here. What did I do? Strings. I didn't try to run that now. So now we can see bananas, pears, apples. They're in their natural order, and we would expect that because we haven't sorted it. If we come and we say strings.sort, not string, but strings, now you'll see they're in order. And this is a lexical sort. You'd say A comes before B, and B comes before P. Just like 1 comes before 3, and 3 comes before 4, and 4 comes before 5, and so on. Okay? It's a lexical sort. It doesn't do you much good when you put integers in there, though. Okay? So the question is, when we have a list of numbers, how do we get them in alphabetical order? Or not alphabetical order, but just in order of, how we'd expect integers to be in order. Well, it turns out that this sort method can take a callback function, and we would, in this callback function, it would take 2 parameters. And what we would do is we would say return A minus B. Let's see what happens now. And sure enough, now these are in order that we would expect. In integer order, 4, and then 11, and 33, and the numbers are getting bigger. So let's look at this real quickly. Basically, the sort method takes a callback function, and it passes to us the first, an A and a B. And so it's looping through, and it first passes us the 33 and the 55. We subtract 33 minus 55, and we come up with a negative number. The sort function sees a negative number and says, okay, 33 goes first. Then it takes 55 minus 11. It passes 55 and 11. We subtract 55 minus 11. It gets a positive number. So it knows that that B goes first. Okay, and it just kind of moves down the line like that. And so thus sorting the array. We can switch this around because we have complete control of it now. If I say B minus A, what would you expect to happen? Well, would you expect it to be inversed? Okay, 66, 55, and sure enough, now they're inversed. Okay, so when you're sorting an array of integers or numbers, you don't want to use just a straight sort. You need to provide the callback function and handle how the sorting will occur yourself. If it's an array of strings, then the sort will work just fine. Let's go and create another. Let's create another array called objects, and let's say that we have. Let's create 3 objects in here, and oh, I'm doing that wrong. I'm sorry. 3 objects. It's an array of 3 objects. Each object's going to have a name. This will be Bob, and this will be name is Adam, and this will be a name George. And you can see those are not in alphabetical order, and it's an array of objects. This is an object. This is an object. And so let's just see what happens here. Let's go ahead and write a method down here that will for each function, we'll call them patients. Let's go and pass in a patient, and we'll say console.log patient.last name. We'll just display the name of that. Okay. Okay. Let's see what we got going on now. We do this. What we'll see is we have Bob, Adam, and George, which is again the natural order. We could just say, and it might be better to do this just to display the whole object. Let's see what happens when we do this. Sure enough, we got the whole object in Bob, Adam, and George. Not in alphabetical order, just in the natural order as I typed them in. Let's try this. Let's just sort it. Let's see what happens if we just say sort. Objects.sort and display it. Well, it kind of laughed at me. It didn't do anything. Okay, it just left it in the. It didn't know what to do. So it didn't do anything. So again, to make this work, what we would need to do is provide a callback function. And so I'm going to make this simpler. Now let's just do this here. What we're going to do is provide the callback function, and it's going to take 2 parameters. We'll call it A and B again. And what we have to do is we're going to sort it by this string, and so we have to do a little bit more work here. I'm going to say if a.name is less than b.name. Oops, wrong. I'm going to capitalize that. Return. Let's go down the next line here. Return -1, -1. Excuse me. I'm going to say if a.name is greater than b.name, return 1. Otherwise, return 0, meaning there's no sort. So basically what we're saying is if the first name is less than the second name getting passed in, that's a -1. It's kind of like subtracting 33, 55, getting a negative number. It knows that this goes first. So we give it a -1. On the opposite side, we give it a 1, and it knows that the second one goes first. And so let's try that now. Oops, excuse me. And so sure enough, now it sorted them. Adam, Bob, and George. Okay. Let's do another little example. Let's add a little bit to our object here, and let's say age is 55. Let's go ahead and give us a little room here. let's say that Adam age is 66, and we'll say that George's age is 2. He's young. Okay, so we know those are definitely not in order by the age. Question would be, how do we change this sort function so we could go by age? And it's quite a bit simpler. A dot age minus b, minus b dot age. And what you'll see now is that, sure enough, they're in order by age. Okay, let's do one more. Make our array of objects a little bit more interesting. Let's say we have a birth date, and let's put some strings in here. 1/1/1940. Let's go BD 1/1/1966. BD is 1/1/1980. Of course, I put them in order, so I don't want that. 1902. Okay. So these are they're not. If we wanted to sort these by the birth date, the 1902 would be first, then the 40, then the 60. So how do we do that? Well, what we would need to do is BD. I just called it BD, didn't I? Yep. So we say BD, but it's not quite going to be because these have to be dates. Those are strings right there. So what we have to do is we have to say new date. We have to convert them to dates by doing this, converting to an object kind of a date. And so then it can do the math on the date, okay? Because it has to be in the date format, so you can subtract one from the other so that you get the right sort. And so, oh, I forgot my new here. Make a new there. And so let's see what happens here. And so now it should be by birth date. So sure enough, 1902, 1940, 1966. I can reverse those simply by saying the B birth date minus the A birth date. And sure enough, it flipped it over. Okay. So there's a few concepts on how to sort. A couple things to keep in mind. Thank you.